Sonic Movie and Equestria Girls Chapter 10, The Race to Settle. A few hours had passed after both speedsters agreed to race without the others knowing, as they decided that late at midnight would be the safest option without making the others worry too much. Sonic started stretching his legs, while Rainbow Dash stood impatiently as she waited for the blue hedgehog to finish stretching.
Are we gonna do this or what? You've been stretching for the last 10 minutes.
Doesn't hurt to stretch this long when you're entering a big race.
Sonic could only finish up his stretch as he stood a good distance far away from Rainbow Dash as he prepared himself to race.
Alright, just like we discussed, whoever makes a full circle around the surrounding forest and makes it back here wins. Does that sound good enough for you?
Sounds fair enough. Just so you know, Hedgehog, it's a mistake to underestimate me.
Trust me, I wouldn't even consider underestimating you, Rainbow Crash.
Rainbow Dash and Sonic got themselves ready as the atmosphere around them became thick, as the only noise that could be heard was a gust of wind that blew around them. It wasn't until the sound of a tree branch breaking which signaled both of them to run in top speeds, as Rainbow Dash immediately tapped into her magic to summon her wings. Both speedsters ran so fast that the only sound around the area that could be heard was the sound of the gust of wind of their wind trails, which they had left behind. Rainbow Dash looked over to see Sonic running at ease as he showed the look of determination and cockiness, which somewhat annoyed her even more. Sonic immediately started to jump on the tree branches, as with each step he took a leap off into another branch, while still keeping up with Rainbow Dash. To prevent this, Rainbow Dash immediately sliced the next tree branch, which caused the blue hedgehog to fall to the ground. Luckily, the blue hedgehog managed to spin dash, preventing himself from crashing against the other trees, as he made his way back to Rainbow Dash.
Hey, not fair.
All is fair when it's a race, rodent. Everyone knows that rule number 1 while racing is always pay attention to your opponent and figure out how to get the upper hand.
Fine then. If that's how you want to play, then let's play.
Sonic and Rainbow Dash then moved past the woods as they made their way up a mountain. Once both speedsters made their way up the top, Sonic immediately picked up a long piece of wood on the floor and he used it as a surfboard down the rocky mountain. For payback for earlier, he picked up dirt from the ground before throwing it at Rainbow Dash, which she barely avoided. They then got to the edge of the mountain as Sonic could only leap from the edge of the cliff before grabbing the piece of wood he rode on before throwing it at Rainbow Dash, causing her to lose balance.
Sorry, Rainbow Crash, but it's like you said, all is fair when it's a race.
Sonic then leaped down from the mountain and back to the ground as he dashed up in speeds, leaving Rainbow Dash to recover as she screamed in rage. After that stunt of his, she then started to fly even faster as she immediately caught up to Sonic as he ran beside her while smirking.
You know, for someone who is as fast as me, I'm surprised we don't get along.
Take this seriously.
I'll take it seriously when it starts to get interesting. Otherwise, I'm fine with where I am at. Don't you?
Rainbow Dash could only growl in annoyance as Sonic could only grin in excitement as both speedsters started to pick up their pace. To slow down the blue hedgehog, Rainbow Dash immediately started to break down a couple of trees, which caused Sonic to slow down, making Rainbow Dash in the lead.
Take that.
Sonic then immediately ran up a tree as he immediately ran to the top before leaping in the air and catching up to Rainbow Dash by landing on top of her. Rainbow Dash immediately tried to shake the blue hedgehog off of her, while Sonic held on tight, preventing himself from falling off.
Hey, what the heck are you doing? Get off of me.
I'll think about it. I've just thought about it and I'll think I'll pass. This little hedgehog needs a break from all that running.
Why, you little...
Sonic then immediately got off as he could enjoy himself in this situation while Rainbow Dash stared angrily at him. What ticked her off even more was when he just started jumping in the air while doing silly poses. which further implied that the blue hedgehog wasn't even taking it seriously. Rainbow Dash knew she needed to come up with something soon, but what else could she do? Then it hit her. She immediately had one last card up her sleeve. But if this failed, then there was no hope in winning this race. In her moment of desperation, she closed her eyes one last time before her body started to glow, which confused the blue hedgehog.
You okay?
It didn't take long before she used her trump card, ready then and there, as she flew off in top speeds, creating a rainbow, causing the entire area to shake. Back with the others, the rest of the gang was fast asleep as Tails stayed up while searching on his computer about any information he could find about Eggman. He managed to find some files, which were somewhat connected to Eggman in his dimension, as he started to read more about the history of Project Shadow. That was until he heard a voice behind him.
You should get some sleep. Staying up trying to research more about Robotnik isn't gonna do you any good.
Sorry, Twilight, but with Robotnik and Shadow out there, I need to do as much as I can.
Twilight could only sit beside Tails, as the little fox looked tired and weak but still clinging on. Never in her life she would meet someone, well, a small yellow fox, that acted almost like her. It was almost comforting that there was people just like her who was easily excited about stuff that she liked.
Makes you wish you had magic that could help solve all your problems, doesn't it?
Yeah, which reminds me, could you explain more about you girls?
What do you mean?
During my time here, I picked up some weird energy signals coming from this dimension, especially you girls up close. What's up with that?
Well, it's a long story. Strap yourself for a long story.
After Twilight had explained the whole story to the fox, including information she gathered from Sunset Shimmer and the other Twilight, the fox could be left completely stunned as his eyes widened after hearing such a story.
That's about it. I know it's a lot to process, but I promise you, it's all real.
That's amazing! Not only that you girls had magic from another world, but the power sources I've picked up were because of you. It all makes sense now. First, a princess from the other world comes here to stop Sunset, who was a former student who came from Equestria. Next, we have magical beings like the sirens who get banished here by some powerful wizard. And now I'm actually seeing an alternate version of that princess from another world in front of my eyes. This is just amazing. I have so many questions about Equestria.
Twilight could only watch as Tails screamed in delight as he could only spin around in his chair while smiling. Twilight could only find it adorable as to how much she could relate to the little fox, since she too felt this way when she first discovered magic from Equestria.
I didn't know you could get this excited.
Sorry, I get excited when I hear new things like this. I still can't wrap my mind around the fact that these so-called elements of harmony could have such power to even rival the emeralds.
Yeah, sorry about that. I did go a bit haywire during the friendship games.
Tails could only notice the sad expression form on her face as she remembered the events that took place on that very day. The day where she became a monster and almost destroyed everything because of curiosity and lack of control for her emotions.
Oh, I'm sorry for bringing that up.
No, it's okay. Trust me. It's all in the past. I've changed thanks to my friends, and I could tell your friends have done the same for you.
Yeah.
Tails could only yawn as Twilight knew the little fox couldn't handle staying up an extra minute or so doing work.
You really should get some rest. You don't want to put yourself in too much stress.
It's fine, really. Besides, I owe it to you and the others to do my part in finding those two so we can go back to our regular lives.
Tails, you've done enough for all of us here. I think it's time you do something for yourself by letting your body rest.
I guess you're right. But if you don't mind me asking, do you ever get that feeling that being the smart one is a bad thing?
What do you mean?
Like whenever you do something when others can't do it. Do you ever feel like it makes you stand out from everyone else, making you feel like no one gets you at all? Like you're some kind of outcast?
Twilight could only remain silent as she too felt that feeling before she met the other girls. During the time of her life, she focused mainly on herself and really didn't focus on friends, since she was bad at opening up to people. It was only when she met the others when she started to realize that there's nothing wrong about being smart.
I had that feeling for most of my life before I met the other girls. It gets pretty lonely at first, but once you've found the right people, then it's all uphill from there. Like your friendship with Sonic and Knuckles.
But I'm not as cool as them. Both of them were legends across my dimension, while I was just a messenger who barely helped his hero when he needed me.
Hey, don't you say that. I'm sure Sonic appreciates what you do for him. And if it wasn't for you, then Sonic wouldn't be here besides all of us.
He really thinks so?
Of course. Believe me when I say this. When I've been in your shoes before. Because of that feeling, I let myself be controlled by magic, which almost got people hurt. It wasn't until Sunset Shimmer stopped me and showed me that I'm not alone. And that's what Sonic did for you too. Without them, I don't think I would have met someone as kind and as smart as you.
You really mean that?
Twilight nodded with a smile, which caused the yellow fox to hug her. This surprised her at first before she smiled and hugged Tails back. However, their hug was soon short-lived as they heard a large boom outside, which caused them to separate from one another. Not too far away from them, Sunset Shimmer immediately woke up from that sound, as she wondered what could have caused that noise. She looked around the room to see two individuals missing, and she immediately knew what was going on. Without a second thought, she stood up from her bed before running outside to find the two speedsters. Back with Sonic and Rainbow Dash, it was no surprise Rainbow Dash was in the lead, as she smiled proudly knowing that she was going to win this race. In the distance, she immediately saw the spot where both of them started at, which signaled that the end was near. Thinking that she already won, she looked behind her to see how far the blue hedgehog was from her. It almost seemed something out of a movie, as it felt like time had slowed down for her when she saw a blue flash run past her. To her horror, she saw Sonic run past her even when she gave it her all, which left her completely stunned.
No!
Sonic immediately crossed the finish line before stopping as he cheered by fist pumping the air before doing a little dance.
Yes, haha! Score 1 for Sonic.
Unfortunately, with Sonic not paying attention and Rainbow Dash being completely stunned, she didn't stop herself from crashing into Sonic, which then crashed against a tree, hitting it so hard that it began to break. Sonic could only slightly recover from the hit as he opened his eyes to see Rainbow Dash struggling to get up. The tree then immediately began to fall down as it headed to Rainbow Dash's direction. Sonic wasted no time getting up and swooping her in time before the tree collapsed on the ground, as Sonic immediately put Rainbow Dash down while she looked at him with surprise.
You saved me.
Why wouldn't I? Like I said before, I'm not who you think I am. Also, bad time to bring this up, but I totally won that race.
And just like that, Rainbow Dash could only glare at the blue hedgehog.
You cheated. That stunt you pulled back at the mountain where you threw a piece of wood at me?
Me? Didn't you slice one of the branches where I was jumping on, causing me to fall from hundreds of feet in the air?
I only did that because you weren't even taking this race seriously.
It doesn't matter anyway since I still beat you, so as promised, you have to tell me what your problem is with me.
Rainbow Dash stubbornly turned away, as even when she lost fair and square, she still refused to tell the blue hedgehog what her problem with him was. Before Sonic could even argue back, he immediately stopped himself from saying anything after seeing a tear come down her face. Rainbow Dash let out a depressed sigh while crossing her arms, as she tried her hardest not to cry right then and there.
Rainbow Dash, I just want to know why you hate me so much. And I mean, the actual reason. Could you just tell me? please?
Rainbow Dash remained silent as it became quiet for a couple of seconds before she finally had the courage to speak.
I was jealous, okay?
What?
I was jealous because of your speed, okay? You make it seem so easy during our race, and the fact that you didn't even try makes your light years faster than I am. I always dreamed to be the fastest, and I was, until you showed up. The second you suddenly showed up, my friends started paying more attention to you, and it seemed like the one thing that made me feel special wasn't very special anymore because of you. I wasn't just jealous, I was afraid because it felt like you were about to take them away from me.
Sonic remained silent while Rainbow Dash turned the other way while crossing her arms. Sonic tried reaching out to her while reassuring that wasn't the case.
I never meant to make you feel that way. I'm sure your friends still think you're cool.
You say that, yet your whole life is full of adventure and mystery. You have a whole lot of adventures and exciting things that are going to happen in your life. Well, I'm just a Canterlot High School student, forever bound to be E, and some boring life with nothing exciting later in the future. I mean, look at you. You've got super cool friends. You beat up bad guys like Eggman for a living. And best of all, you have this positive and dramatic attitude every time you go on adventures. I'm nothing compared to you. You're perfect in every way.
Sonic looked over sadly as he watched Rainbow Dash wipe the tears from her eyes, as he never expected this to be the real reason why she didn't like him. All he could respond is back to her words.
You're wrong.
What?
If I'm being quite honest with you, there are still things I still need to work on, because I'm not as perfect as you think I am. It's true that I've saved people from Robotnik, but that doesn't mean my actions haven't gotten people hurt. All my life, people have hunted me down for my power, and because of that reason, my friends had to suffer for it. Before I met Tails and Knuckles, I had just come to my dimension's Earth. I didn't have any friends or family. Not anymore. That was until I met Tom and Maddie.
Sonic can remember it like it was yesterday when he first met Tom. He has the same reaction as the girls when they met him, which resulted in him getting shot with a dart gun.
First time I met Tom, he kinda shot me with a dart gun before Eggman was assigned in hunting me down. But instead of handing me over, he decided to help me along with his wife Maddie, and in the end, he managed to get Robotnik's butt into another planet. Ever since then, they took care of me and helped me, guide me to be a better person. He told me that there would be a time that my power would be needed, but I can't choose that moment, because that moment would choose me. He made me realize that even with all this power and speed, I've still got a long road ahead of me until I become that big hero.
Rainbow Dash could feel his hand touch her shoulder as she looked over to see the blue hedgehog smiling as he continued.
You say that you're nothing compared to me, but yet from what I see, you've got way more better qualities than I have. You're fearless, brave, passionate, cocky, and best of all, your loyalty to stay by your friends and do what you can to keep them safe. In my eyes, you're one of the coolest and most awesome person I've met so far in my life.
You really think that?
Of course. I'm not kidding when I say you're one of the most awesome and amazing people I've ever met. Hearing stories about you from Sunset made me realize that there's someone like me out there who's adventurous and passionate. Besides Sunset Shimmer, you're one of the first humans here I wanted to meet in person. I was even wondering if you could show me the ropes on being more like you.
I don't know what to say.
You don't need to say anything. I just wanted to know the honest truth, and now that I got it, the only question that still stands is, do you still hate me?
Sonic, I never hated you. Like I said earlier, I was just jealous and scared because you made everything seem so easy.
But knowing you now, I wouldn't even consider hating you, because I can see why Sunset Shimmer trusts you so much. Back then, I really didn't like Sunset Shimmer because she almost tore me and my friends apart. And even when she tried redeeming herself after the fall formal, I gave her the cold shoulder, just like I did with you. But through time, she managed to become a better person, all thanks to your guidance. You helped her when me and the others couldn't. Although your watching us from a distance was a little creepy, I can understand now why you didn't want to show your face around us, me especially.
Don't sweat it, Rainbow.
An awkward silence then engulfed the area around them, with neither one speaking a single word. However, that would soon change when Sonic was the first one to speak.
So, does this mean we're cool with each other?
That's only if you want to. I did give you the cold shoulder, so it's understandable if you don't want to be friends with me now since you've seen that side of me.
I've dealt with worse. First time me and Knuckles met, he punched me around, destroying my house and almost killed me before Tails rammed him with a police car. Looking back at it now, that's the first time all three of us have met.
Rainbow Dash could only stare at him weirdly as she found it unusual how such a trio could meet in such a bizarre way. The speedster could only laugh thinking about how it went down and how awkward it'd been to introduce themselves afterwards. Sonic then soon joined her as they laughed together, as this helped brighten the mood as the laughter died down before Sonic offered to do a fist bump.
So, you still want to be friends?
It took a couple of seconds before Rainbow Dash could only fist bump the blue hedgehog as she smiled softly, knowing she made a new friend.
Of course, but just to let you know, when all of this is over, I call for a rematch.
Deal.
Rainbow Dash and Sonic stood in silence as it felt like there was something that was still missing, as if they had forgotten something.
I felt like something was supposed to happen.
Sonic? Rainbow Dash?
Sonic and Rainbow Dash could only flinch from hearing a voice yell from behind them as they turned around to see Sunset Shimmer staring angrily at them.
Oh, crap.
Sonic and Rainbow Dash were left completely stunned as Sunset Shimmer approached them with an angry look, as Sonic was quick to defend himself. Tails and Twilight had just made it there just in time to see Sunset Shimmer walking towards the speedsters as they huddled in fear.
What's going on? What happened?
Twilight noticed the look of anger on Sunset's face as she too fell victim to her outburst once during the friendship games.
This won't time well, will it?
Sonic was the first to respond to her as he spoke in a calm but yet terrified voice.
I know what you're going to say, and before you say anything, me and Rainbow Dash here are cool. So, problem solved, right?
Problem solved. Problem solved? Do you have any idea what you two just did?
Made up, obviously.
You stay out of this, especially since Sonic promised he wouldn't do anything this drastic.
To be fair, having a race to settle our problems, that talking was more effective, don't you think?
Is everything a game to you? Look at the damages you two caused.
Oh, relax, the trees will grow back. Eventually.
Can you stop taking things so lightly? First, you break your word when you said you would talk to Rainbow Dash. Next, you raised her, causing you both to use your powers, which, by the way, could have revealed our location to the creepy scientist, which could have put the life of our friends in danger. What if this was somewhere else? A place full of innocent people. Look around you, Sonic.
Sonic could only turn around to see the damage that he caused. Not only was that part of the forest completely destroyed, but the image of this taking place somewhere else with people there made him realize the gravity of the situation.
I didn't mean to.
But you did, like you always do. Because just like last time when you promised to keep your word with me, you do the complete opposite.
It's not like that.
Then why did you break your promise? Because it seems like you've been doing that only with me. You told me that you wanted to be the big hero, but does a true hero think they could do whatever they want without there being consequences?
Sonic could only remain silent as he looked down in shame while Sunset waited for a response.
Sunset, wait!
It was too late. Sunset Shimmer couldn't hide the tears forming in her eyes as she turned the other way before walking away, leaving the blue hedgehog completely stunned. He tried to reach out to her to reassure her that what she thought was wrong, only to feel something stop him as Rainbow Dash put her hand on his shoulder.
Give her some space. Right now, I don't think it's the best time to try and reason with her when she's this emotional.
I never meant for any of this to happen.
I don't think there's anything you could do for now, Sonic. Just give her time, and I'm sure she's gonna come around again.
Tails is right. I think we're all just tired and we want some sleep.
Sonic could only look down on the ground sadly, knowing that because of his actions, Sunset is now mad at him for real this time. With Applejack, after hearing a loud boom sound outside, Applejack could only wake up slowly while picking up her head to rub her eyes before blinking a few times.
What tarnation is going on this time?
Applejack looked across the room to see a green light glowing from the inside. Curious to what this was, Applejack got back up to her feet before walking inside to see what was causing this green light. Once inside, she could only hide around the corner to see a certain red echidna meditating on the floor with the emerald in one hand. Once again, Knuckles was trying to use the emerald's power once more as the emerald lifted in the air before sending a shockwave around the area. Knuckles got up slowly before using both hands to control its power once more. Applejack watched as Knuckles struggled to control its power, with him letting out a mighty roar cry. However, it seemed as if this wasn't enough to change anything. The emerald let out another shockwave, which sent Knuckles back against the wall once more before falling to the ground. Applejack could only watch as the red echidna got back up before walking towards the emerald.
No matter how many times I fail, I'll always get back up to overcome this obstacle. I swore an oath to my brothers to protect this emerald with my life, and I will strive to use its power on my own to protect them from my enemies. I will never stop trying, ever.
Applejack watched as Knuckles sat back down with the emerald once more. She could see the determination in his eyes that he wanted to use the emerald to protect the people he cared about. In some ways, she could relate to the red echidna after the day she lost her parents. Just like Knuckles, she too wanted to protect her family and make sure that nothing happened to them despite what they went through. Throughout the rest of the night, Applejack watched from afar while Knuckles continued to practice despite failing over and over again.